All right, guys, welcome back to $2 podcast. It's your girl Paislee, and today I'm here with the heavyweight champ Juan Adams. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, just chilling, relaxing.
Good, good. Okay, so you're out there in Albuquerque. How is it out there?
It's kind of whack, but there's nothing to do really but train. So that's what I do is I train, I work, and that's about it.
Okay, okay. And then you came from Houston. You grew up out here, huh?
Yeah. I grew up in Houston. Went to college out in Virginia, moved back to Houston right after I graduated, and moved out here to further my mixed martial arts career.
Okay. How was growing up in Houston?
No, it was amazing. There was always something to do. I didn't really get to do much. My mom kind of kept me on a pretty tight leash, and I always knew that I wanted to be a professional athlete. So
Mhm.
I always kind of worked and trained that way in school. So I was always really just really driven with athletics.
Okay. Does fighting run in the family?
Yeah, they fight a lot. None of them professionally, but a lot of fighters out there.
All right. So when you were how I wanted to ask you, how was it when you were getting all of these offers and everything, and then boom, you break your hand? Like how is that like mentally just
It was really draining because my junior year, I actually missed a lot of the season because of advanced Spanish. So I was failing a class I didn't even need to take, and it was making me ineligible. So I missed a lot of games my junior year,
mhm.
and a lot of these offers were contingent on me having a good senior season. And breaking my hand the first game of the season, already knowing the coach didn't really like me all that much. So I was like, I'm kind of screwed. So mentally, it was draining. It was definitely depressing, and all I could think about during that football season really was wrestling. And
Mhm.
I really a lot of people in my school. I didn't like my teammates. I was pretty miserable that year, and now a lot of those same people that I didn't like are fans. They but I just didn't really mess with a lot of those people. And now, I've been a long time. I forgave them a long time ago, but uh, that was just a really draining experience for me, and it kind of just made me not really enjoy high school at all. But it got to a point where I was ranked pretty highly going into wrestling season, so
Mhm.
I was looking forward to that, and it was kind of the same situation. I ended up not doing as well as I wanted to. I took fifth in state, and I had a lot of Division 2, D3, NAIA off.
Mhm. It kind of
Trying,
broke. There we go.
yeah, it came down to like, do I want to walk on, be a preferred walk on for football, or do I want to be a preferred walk on for wrestling? And you know, it comes down to what you're passionate about. Like I noticed that, like while I do like football in a way, that coach kind of just ruined the sport for me forever. Like I despise playing football. I'll play a video game of it. I'll do
Mhm.
fantasy football, but anything football related, I just kind of don't like to do. Um, and I love wrestling. To this day, I still love wrestling. So that's what I did. I went out to Virginia. They were the first Division 1 school that expressed interest in me,
Mhm.
uh, Military Institute, and I went there, and had a pretty decent career.
Okay, okay. So how was it when you graduated from Virginia, then you came back to Houston?
Yeah.
And then how'd your career, when did you first start professionally doing MMA and how'd you get into that after
Well, it was funny
college?
because like I had always talked about it, and over the summers I was training at the mixed martial arts gym just at wrestle, and in exchange for paying membership, they let me coach wrestling and help fighters with their wrestling. So I just gave free privates to all the fighters. And it was cool. That's something I really wanted to do. But after my senior season, the Colts contacted my coach and offered me like a tryout with them. So
Okay.
down to Houston, I was actually training at the time it was CES. Now I think it's ATH.
Mm-hmm.
Training there for an NFL tryout. Through there, the Packers came down and evaluated me, and it was one of those things where like it got down to anything. I loved working out. I just didn't like football. So,
So you had the Packers and the
January,
Colts looking for you, right?
yeah, they were. I mean, they were just the Colts were interested in me for like specifically. The Packers came down to evaluate like everybody that was training at that facility.
Okay, okay.
But there was 7 of us at the time, and then so yeah, that didn't. I was just like, I don't like football, so I started training for MMA, and that was January of 2016. I started training for MMA, and my first amateur fight was September of 2016, and everything just took off from there. You know, I went pro, got 3 quick wins, had my contender series fight, and then before I knew it, I was in the UFC.
Okay, how was the feeling the first time you got in the ring? Your first amateur fight?
I mean, it was crazy. It was exhilarating because it was like, for me, it wasn't anything compared to the first time I stepped on the collegiate wrestling mat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I'm here to put on a show. Like, and it's weird because even as an amateur, I knew like nobody I was going to fight was going to be even remotely close to my level. So I was just like wrecking them. When I went pro, like my first pro fight, I wasn't really that nervous because that guy was 0-2 at the time. So I knew how that was going to go.
Okay.
My second pro fight, I was super, super nervous. And a guy had like died in the cage and was brought back to life that same night. So I was like, fuck, this shit is crazy. So
Wow.
that was scary.
Okay, okay. How was your time in the UFC?
You know, I loved it. Especially loved the staff. The staff always made me feel like a superstar there. It was cool, but ultimately, like that was a super stressful time in my life. You know, I was dating a girl at the time that it was just a bad fit, and I was trying to force it because I didn't want to be wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of a shit show. Like that, like looking back, that's one of the biggest things I would change at that time, and also just kind of being a yes person to everyone around me. You know, when I was in the UFC, it was crazy. I was the youngest American heavyweight at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody wanted some of my time. You know, I had crazy sponsorships. It was insane. You know, and I thought it was everything I wanted, but it wasn't. You know, it was affecting my performance, the mental drain it was taking. Just trying to always be there for other people was really hard for me.
Okay. So then you got out of that relationship. That's before you left Houston?
No, I was still in like my whole time, but that wasn't like the biggest issue. The biggest issue was me not prioritizing myself.
Okay.
I was to other people, you know, family, friends, whoever, they would always want me to come out, make appearances, you know, at parties or events or whatever. And it got draining. You know, I do love people, but I need my me time, and I wasn't getting enough of that.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of anxiety I had associated with fighting. I was too caught up in my performance and my career, and I didn't have any balance in my life. So it was a rough time.
Self-care and self-love is like always first, especially when you're working like somewhere so stressful. And then I could just imagine everybody just wanting you here and pulling you and acting like you're an octopus and pulling you in all these different directions. You have to keep your own sanity at the end of the day.
Right.
How do you deal with that? And like, do you experience any mental health or go through times of where you're just like, oh, you just want to give up?
Yeah, definitely. You know, And I've dealt with depression at various stages of my life. And the biggest, the biggest trigger for it for me, or I wouldn't even say trigger, a big cause for my depression is, in male development, there's stages of it. And the stage where a lot of men get caught up is that time when you become associated with what you do, when you're associated, whatever team it is you're a part of and the group you hang out with, there's an association attached to that. And a lot of guys never get to truly develop themselves. They're too caught up in what the rest of the world perceives them as. And that was really tough for me because at the end of the day, I always wanted to be loved. I wanted to be admired. I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be the person that was getting everyone's attention. And I wasn't getting that really at home because I had a younger brother, and I never really got it at school. I was, the fat kid,
It kind of broke up there for a second.
I said my thought process was I wasn't getting it at school because I wasn't getting that adoration and recognition at school because I was a little fat kid, and the way I dealt with it was like, I have to be better than everyone at everything. So I got super competitive. And then I realized that you can't be the best at everything. So I would pick things that I wanted to be exceptional at. And, the biggest part of my depression was probably high school when, my football coach and I didn't really get along great. Like, we got on great as people, but in terms of sports, I just always felt that I was getting screwed over. So I hated it, and I started hating sports, but sports was my entire identity at the time. So that was rough for me, and that's why I loved wrestling, because it was like, you can't screw me over here. Like, it's me versus you, and whoever wins gets that spot. And then at that point, it was just performing. So that's what initially drew me to the sport of wrestling. And then when I got to college, I was dealing with it because I would attach so much pressure to myself, thinking every match, like, this is the match that's going to put me over the top. This is the one that's going to give me that national recognition. And I never got that. I never got that. My whole wrestling career in college, I think I wrestled 100 matches and I won like 70 of them. So I was like a 70% competitor in college. And then, so after that, when I never made it to nationals, I never All-American, I never won conference. That was a really rough time in my life. That broke me. And then right after that, my mom got diagnosed with cancer. So that was probably the lowest I ever was. And so I started seeking stuff like, I started seeking that validation and that adoration from, people or women, like whatever. And that was also just a self-destructive spiral. So moving out to New Mexico, and then when I got to the UFC, that's, when I was fighting, I was starting to get that, I was wrecking everybody.
Yeah.
And then I lost. And the first loss, I was like, okay, I won that fight. It was a hometown thing, whatever, that was a fluke. The second loss, like that
They were 3 back-to-back losses.
Yeah, it was
right?
3 losses, back to back to back. So then on top of me not getting the adoration, and now I'm getting ridiculed by people that could never do a fraction of the things that I've accomplished, but that it still hurt. Not getting, like, I'm like, why are these people criticizing me? I've done more in 26, 27 years of life than these people could do with 50. Why don't they like me? And then and I was in therapy at the time, but I kind of ramped it up and really started doing work on myself, the shadow work, as people like to call it, the work that nobody sees. I started doing that, and even after my third loss, I kept doing that. And then I took a year off from competing altogether. I kept training. I started working. I found passion and things that I found value in, and things that made me feel valued outside of sports, outside of that recognition.
Mhm.
And that was a real turning point for me. So that, was a big step in getting over my own depression and my own anxieties, and experiencing success in all other areas of life at that point made me realize, I was kind of doing it wrong all along. So that really helped me. That made me grow a lot as a human, a lot as a person, and by using my own experience to make sure that nobody else that I interacted with dealt with that was really big for that as well.
Okay, and then you came back strong.
Yeah. Then I won 3 straight. Yeah, it's crazy because but that experience gave me so much perspective. So it does a good job of keeping me pretty centered. I screw around a lot online, and then I'll post real stuff when I'm actually going through things. I don't like to do that, but I know it helps a small number of people get through their day, and if you can help one person, you've done something right. So that's where I go at it. But it does suck, like being that vulnerable to a bunch of weirdos on the internet. That sucks.
Oh yeah, you gotta just keep your character online, and it's hard though sometimes dealing with shit, and then you just want to lash out online and let it all go, and then you have the comeback and the feedback and all this. But speaking of things online and your posts and stuff, I had one big, huge issue with you. And I was like, we are going to have a problem. Okay. You said the Shipleys is better than Krispy Kreme?
Yeah, it is. Here's my reasoning. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Krispy Kreme is everywhere, right? It's good. But I eat 2 or 3 Krispy Kreme donuts, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. That's a lot of sugar. They're really rich,
Mm-hmm.
Shipley is softer, is fluffy, their kolaches are way better. And on top of all that, how often do you see a Shipley's commercial?
Not often.
Never. They don't do commercials. They don't need to. You see Krispy Kreme advertisements.
I don't know. There's only one Shipleys in Houston that I like. You know about the Shipleys on Ella?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Heights, right?
Yeah. That is the only one because they serve their donuts hot all day long. Yeah. But the rest of them, I don't know. They've downgraded since I was a kid. And
I'm about to hit you with that line from the little fat kid. He's like, why you ain't eat it cold? Why you ain't eat it cold?
I guess over the past few years, I became more Krispy Kreme. But then you walk in, they give you a free donut. It's like, hey, you get an extra little snack. All hot and warm.
I don't know. Shipley's just does it for me. Shipley's donut holes are way better too.
Oh, okay. You got a point, I guess. Yeah. So let's talk about all this food and snacks you're always talking about. Like researching you, I got super hungry because I'm like, oh my gosh, my kind of guy, all these snacks and everything. So have you ever been at a point where you went for weigh-in and you just didn't weigh enough?
No, I've always been like struggling to make weight. It's always hard for me. Mm-hmm. But no, I actually had to really change up my diet and everything because I started having thyroid issues before my first fight back. I was having thyroid issues. So I modified my diet a little bit. I can't eat like I used to. I'm getting a little older. I'm 29 now.
Oh, you're still young. I'm older than you.
I am, man. Everyone tells me I'm young, but every morning I wake up I gotta pop 4 joints before I can move. So
no. Wait till you hit 30. Like when you get in the 30s, oh my gosh, your back's in pain. You gotta stretch when you get up. But you should be used to it. You work out all the time. How many times a day you work out?
3 to 4, 3 or 4 times a day.
So what's your typical day with you like?
So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I have a 5:30 a.m. lift, right?
Mhm.
Um, Mondays and Fridays, I do a 12 o'clock ground and pound workout. Um, then what is it? Tuesdays and Thursdays after the 5:30 workout, I have 10:30 a.m. sparring, and then after that, I have a 3 p.m. Um, pod workout, and then I usually have a 4 or 4:30 private workout, and then what is it? Wednesdays, I do 11 a.m. wrestling, 3 p.m. pod workouts, and then cardio on my own later that day.
Mhm.
Uh, Fridays, I just have that 1 12 o'clock class. I do a morning do a morning run, like just to kind of stay loose, and then I stretch and rehab, and then Saturdays and Sundays I do a long hike or something like that. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I usually, try and get some, try and, do some extracurriculars with the ladies.
Okay, okay. So how is dating? How's your dating life?
I know it's rough. Like Monday, I think I just broke up with the girl I've been seeing for about 6, 7 months.
Mhm.
That was tough. But I think it was for the best. Still love her and everything. It wasn't ideal for either of us, so you have to kind of stop it now. So that sucked. But other than that, man, I mean, I live in Albuquerque. It sucks. It's weird because like out here, I'm a commodity. I'm 6'5". There's not that many minorities out here,
Mhm.
so it's pretty easy to go down that road if I wanted to. But
Okay, well, all the
I'm
ladies.
yeah, I'm about quality, not quantity right now. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, so it's different. But yeah, I definitely before this girl, like after I broke up when I left the UFC, I took about a year to just kind of be a hoe and do what I had to do. But it was fun. But yeah, I'm just looking for more out of life in general right now.
So
So
at what point were you celibate then? Because I read about that too. And how long did
man,
that last?
I periodically will go through like 3 to 4 month periods of celibacy
Mhm.
where it's just kind of the reset for me. And um I've slept with over 100 women, so it's like you don't want to get into exchanging energies with too many people.
Yeah.
You got to be safe out here. Like I'm really not trying to go and get tested, like every week. So that's why
Yeah.
I kind of chill out. I was kind of forced to chill out with all that. So it's all good though. Yeah, I was celibate. I think. Well, when was I celibate? It was. Oh, I took like 4 months of celibacy after my third pro fight.
Mhm.
So from oh, let me think. No, it was after my second pro fight. Yeah, so from November of 2017 through March, yeah, November 2017 to March to 2018. I was celibate. In college, I was actually celibate. So I went from I was celibate for like a year in college. Yeah, there was like a year in college. So
Mhm.
I don't remember which year because during that year I was drinking a lot. So, but yeah, randomly I like to just abstain from one or two things in my life, just to kind of, it's a mental thing. It's just to know that I'm in control of myself and I'm not ruled by my base instincts or base desires. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, is there anything out there that's kept secret about you or something that you would want to share with all the Doobies to Dollars fans before we end this?
Not really, because if it's a secret, I want to keep it a secret.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty open with everyone. Like, I try and every couple of weeks do an ask me anything, and that's kind of like a no holds barred type deal. What I'm not gonna be doing is I'm gonna be a little bit more private about my dating and sex life for a while, because I just don't want to allow outside energies into anything that could be
Yeah,
done. But,
definitely.
other than that, no, I'm a pretty open book. I try and be pretty transparent with everyone, be as genuine as I can with people, because those type of interactions, you get what you put out into the world, and I want to receive people at their true self. I don't want to receive fakes, so I try and put out realness all the time.
Okay, I feel that. Well, thank you for coming on Doobies to Dollars. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
You're my first athlete. So
hey,
hey.
There we go. Making history over here.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it.
For sure, for sure.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Later. Have a good one.
Bye.